Good day, YouTube. This is Jay Money with Falling Forward Financial. Just an article here on Metaverse. A lot of people have been talking about Metaverse. Come across this one. Look kind of interesting. I've heard about this particular stock. Have to look back. I don't know if I've talked about it or not. I don't believe so, but if I have, I'll list it in the comments. So this monster Metaverse stock could become a screaming buy after earnings. So Applied Materials is a well-known named semiconductor industry, and I just did a video on semiconductors a couple hours ago about a couple ETFs, some Fidelity funds, semiconductors, so it's kind of interesting. So its products and solutions are playing a key role in solving the global chip shortage, but investors may not be aware that is also a solid metaverse play. The metaverse, which aims at the transport users into a three-dimensional world where they can connect and collaborate with each other in real time, will need the support of a company like Applied Materials to expand. That's because the metaverse is going to create massive demand for semiconductors. Lots of semiconductor chips will be needed for to power high-performance computing, data centers to serve 3D worlds in real time, along with devices such as virtual reality headsets, sensors, and haptic gloves. Applied Materials is one of the best ways to tap this potential opportunity because it provides manufacturing equipment and services to semiconductor foundries to boost their productivity. Not surprisingly, it was the top performer on the stock market last year as companies rushed to buy its offerings to alleviate the global semiconductor shortage. However, 2022 has started off on a negative note. For Applied Materials, the stock price is down 16% so far this year, and investors could be anticipating a turnaround when Applied Materials releases its fiscal 2022 first quarter earnings, a report on Wednesday the 16th, which is actually tomorrow. But the turnaround seems a tad difficult considering the supply chain constraints the company is facing. And so here's kind of goes over some results and guidance. In November 2021, the company expects Q1 revenue of $6.16 billion at the midpoint of the forecast range, along with adjusted earnings of $1.85 per share. Wall Street, however, is looking for slightly higher earnings of $1.86 per share on revenue of $6.17 billion. As issued by Applied Materials in November 2021, the company expects Q1 revenue of $6.16 billion at the midpoint of its forecast range, along with adjusted earnings of $1.85 per share. It is worth noting that Applied Materials revenue and earnings could increase 19% and 34% year over year, respectively, if it hits the midpoint of its guidance range, but investors may overlook the robust year over year growth if supply chain constraints weigh on Applied Materials' performance and cause it to miss expectations. The company had missed analysts' expectations by a big margin when it had released its fiscal 2021 fourth quarter results in November, and such a possibility cannot be ruled out once again on the November earnings conference call. So I'll just have to wait and see how that particular conference call goes. And I've talked about Taiwan Semiconductor before, ticker TSM. One of Applied Materials' largest customers is already preparing to power the metaverse by ramping up the production of chips based on advanced process nodes. The foundry giant believes that augmented reality, or AR, and virtual reality, VR, headsets could ultimately replace smartphones in the long run, though they will need to be lighter and boast robust computing power. This shows why Taiwan Semiconductor is ramping up spending on making chips based on smaller process nodes this year. The Taiwanese company has a capital expenditure budget of $40 billion for 2022, up from $30 billion last year, and is expected to spend a big chunk of that money on shoring up manufacturing infrastructure for 3 nanometer and 2 nanometer chips. Applied Materials is a solid position to benefit from Taiwan semiconductor spending on more advanced chips to power the Metaverse, as the Taiwanese giant produced 15% of the former revenue last fiscal year. Meanwhile, the overall growth in the semiconductor demand in the long run is going to be another secular growth driver for Applied Materials. So lots of information about Applied Materials, semiconductors. Like I said, I just did a semiconductor video earlier about a bunch of ETFs from Fidelity, so you want to check those out as well. Kind of interesting, but if you have any semiconductors, you can list that in the comments along with your favorite one, or if you have a favorite ETF or Fidelity fund, you can list that as well. And if you have Applied Materials or Taiwan Semiconductor, you can list that in the comments as well. And if you have a favorite Metaverse, you can list that as well. So any comments are welcome. And if you haven't smashed that like button yet, go ahead and hit that for me, as well as subscribing and hit the bell so you're notified of when the next videos drop. Again, this is Jay Money, Falling Forward Financial. Happy trading, happy investing, stay green. Cheers.